الله الرحمن الرحيم.
So Ali Titsazian, Shaheed, I've mentioned this sentence again and again. He says, you will not be able to go through the barbed wire of the enemy until you've gone through the barbed wire of your soul. He was telling his soldiers under him, he was a commander, meaning that to be able to have willpower in you, spiritual elevation, spiritual cleansing is very important. And the shuhadas, just see their characters rather than what they did on the battlefield, but just look at their characters, how purified they were, how they went through the barbed wires of their souls before they could liberate territories that were taken over by the enemy. 6 September 2021, 6 Palestinians escaped from the Gilboa prison in occupied Palestine. So on the first year anniversary, Al Mayadeen channel, which is based in Beirut, they presented a 6-part series on the details of this escape. So the whole story is related by Mahmoud al-Arida, who was the mastermind of this whole escape. But before that, just a little bit about the prison itself. Gilboa prison is not a normal prison. It's the 3rd most secure prison in the world and the most secure prison in occupied Palestine. So it's around 6 kilometers from the West Bank. They call it the iron safe. That's the safe that we have to keep our money. So this prison is called the iron safe, and that's why you need the iron will to escape from there. It has been fortified using research. So they've studied prisons around the world and they've studied escapes around the world, and accordingly they have designed this prison. So thick walls, even the floor, there is steel and then there is concrete on top of it, and then there are tiles. Not only that, but knocking on the walls or on the floor, they have electric sensors. So if there's any knocking activity going on, either on the walls or the floor of the prison, it's detected by the computers. They have watchtowers in small distances around the prison and dogs. So security is top notch in this prison. And the search is 3 times a day. 3 times a day they go in and check, and the prisoners are called out not only with their names but photographs. So nobody else can call on the other's behalf. Not only that, but they rotate prisoners. So they don't keep them in one cell. They keep rotating them around. So nobody's comfortable with the environment that they have. So the place where this escape took place was cell number 5 in section 2 of the prison. And very interestingly, they gave this room a name. The prisoners themselves gave this room a name. You know what name was given? The room was called General Qasim Soleimani room. So they gave it the name General Qasim Soleimani room, just to show the relationship with this man, as to what status did he have, what relationship, or how much they existed in the thoughts of this man, and how much he did for them. So in respect of Haji Qasim, they call this room Haji Qasim Soleimani. So Mahmoud al-Arida, the mastermind of this whole, and by the way, they were all sentenced to life. So they were all in prison for life, several life sentences, all 6 of them. So he was the founder member of Al-Quds brigades. And he tried to escape from prison many times before. So he is a known person for escaping. And just as a challenge, the Israelis told him, so you have a habit of escaping, we'll put you in this prison. Let's see what you can do. And they do that. For people who are very naughty, and they don't have discipline, they're sent to Gilboa prison. So it was like a challenge. That if you have a habit of escaping, try escaping from here, from the iron safe. The second one was Zakaria Zubaydi, who was a late addition to the group. He's also a commander. And in his family, right from 1988, someone or the other has been in prison. So they've never had a family reunion since 1988. Somebody or the other has been in prison. So Zakaria Zubaydi was one of them. Ayham Kamamji was the third one. This guy is very interesting. He is a Friday prayer imam. So imam of Jumu'ah, and used to give sermons. He had 2 bachelor degrees from Al-Quds University in Gaza and a master's degree from University of Cairo. So highly educated person. And in prison, he had taken up this task of educating the fellow prisoners. So he would do this while in prison. And he would help the other prisoners to read and write. And they say he was very good-hearted, very kind-hearted. So anybody who had problems, they would go to him. Then Munad al-Nafiat, again, prisoner, and his family paid the price. So just to discipline him, members of his family were also put in prison. He was the fourth one. Yaqub Qadri, he was one of the first people to be contacted by Mahmoud al-Aridam. And Muhammad al-Aridam was the sixth one, the younger brother of Mahmoud. And then there are some additional helpers who did not escape because they were not on a life imprisonment, but they helped in digging of this tunnel. So there are many, but I just thought of mentioning this guy here, Muhammad Shireen. He was going to be released in the same month as they started digging the tunnel. He had finished his term, and he was going to be released in the same month. And when he found out that they're digging the tunnel, he said, I will help you. And when he was caught, and when this whole thing failed, and they were arrested, when they found out that he participated, he was given 4 more years of imprisonment. But he sacrificed his freedom to help in this cause. He did not escape, but he helped in the digging. And Mahmoud al-Arida says he was the main laborer when it came to digging the tunnel. The other thing was secrecy. Amazing. So they were going through all this digging of this tunnel, but other than the 6 and a few helpers, none of the other inmates knew about it. So the circumstances in which it was done, people just thought that they're digging a hole just to hide their mobile phones. They smuggled mobile phones into prison, so they're looking for a place to hide it. So while all this was going on, nobody else knew about it except this group itself. So do you want to know when was this plan designed, or when did it cross Mahmoud al-Arida's mind? They say it is as old as Gilboa itself. So he started thinking about escaping right from 2003. He escaped in 2021, but he thought of the escape right from the 2003. At that time he was in Shatta prison, another prison, and he would keep on asking Gilboa, inmates from Gilboa, that what is that prison like? Give me some more details. And he was drawing a mental map. And after talking to them, he found out a weak point. So he said, I want to go there. So he started filling up papers to get a transfer. 2005, he was transferred to Gilboa prison. That's where he went and studied the ground plan as to how it has been designed. 2014, they started digging and he was arrested. The plan failed. So they were put in solitary confinement and sent to another prison. 2017, he was back in Gilboa, just as a challenge that you can't do anything. December 14th, 2020, he was in cell number 14. And he had decided to escape from there, but suddenly he was transferred to cell number 5. And that's where he started. So he says the secret of success of this project or this escape was his team. He says he personally trained each and every one of them right from 2015. So he says his team was good, and that's why they were successful in escaping. And they started digging. Now it has become a symbol now, the spoon. So simple tools like the spoon. They started digging the tunnel, and they came to a steel plate and they started cutting it. I don't know how they cut it. March 2021. So 3 months after they started digging, there was a surprise check. And they couldn't detect it. It was very close to being detected. And somehow they missed it. April of 2021, while they were digging the tunnel, one of the members while digging got stuck in that hole and he nearly lost his life. So they had to go around and rescue him. These prisoners had to go in. So all these happenings, and there's so many more details which I've left out. And then finally, one guard comes in, I think it was September 4th or 5th, a day before they escaped. He came in and saw that there was a hole, and the prisoners thought, okay, now we're going to be caught. So they were deciding, they had planned to escape on the 7th of September, but instead, 5th September, the same night, they came out from the prison. So it was successful. They came out, and I think it was past midnight that they came out of the prison. And if you go to the Al Mayadeen website, they described the feeling of freedom, the smell of the soil, and the things that they missed out, the coffee, Palestinian coffee, and the fruits and the olives, and how they tried to run. Plan A did not work out, so they had to separate in twos. So 3 groups of 2 each. After 5 days, Mahmoud Arida and Yaqub, who were partners, were caught. Even that, they accidentally. They were stopped by traffic police and they were arrested. Zakaria Zubaydi and Muhammad Arida were arrested later on while they were looking for food in one of the houses. But the last two, Ayham Kamanji, the Imam, the Friday Imam, and Munad al-Nafiyat, they made it to Jenin. That was their plan, to make it to Jenin. And Jenin is the center of resistance. They really talk about Jenin. They were all from Jenin, so they all made it. So these two made it to Jenin. They were nearly caught, they separated, and then they met up in Jenin. And they were given shelter and protected by the brigades. But what happened then was when the Israelis found out that these two are in Jenin, they threatened that we know which house they're living in, and we're going to bring down this house, and we're going to attack Jenin just to get these two prisoners. So these two thought, this is not right. And in the meantime, there was a threat from the Hamas in Gaza that if you do anything to these prisoners, we are going to attack. So these prisoners, two guys are discussing amongst themselves that just for us, so many people are going to lose their life, and there's going to be bloodshed, and we're not doing this for personal reasons. We're doing it for Palestine. So they allowed themselves to be arrested.
الحر يأبى أن يكون مقيدا والصقر يأنف ذلة الخرفان.
They gave themselves up. And it was so embarrassing for the Israelis. People were fired from their jobs and they tried to cover it up. But the story was just too big. That's why it leaked out. But they say all the prisoners were given up by the Arab Israelis. So it is the Arabs who informed the Israelis that these prisoners are around. A tip-off. But the prisoners themselves said no. Wherever we went, the hospitality was excellent. They protected us. It was just accidentally that we were arrested and circumstances were such that we had to give ourselves up. What mattered here was the determination. Right from the time the plan came into this person's mind, how many failed attempts, and finally they escaped. And even after escaping, giving up that sense of freedom because they had already done the damage to the enemy. So the battle starts within and then it goes out. So the feats that we hear, yes, they may seem great, but we should also understand that it's something that starts within them. There's a journey that they go within them before they can do great things from outside. A couple of Quranic verses which gives us a lot of hope. So Surah Hashr, chapter 59, verse number 2. So he says, while they were certain that their fortresses would defend them against Allah, but Allah came to them where they did not expect. Allah came to them from where they did not expect. Min haythu la yahtasib. And He cast terror in their hearts. If you see the occupied territories today, they've walled the whole area. So Gaza, West Bank, concrete walls. Gilboa prison, big wall. Thinking that this is the iron safe. But Allah says, we are going to strengthen these people and we are going to cast fear into the enemies and they're going to be confronted from areas where they never expected. Min haythu la yahtasib. There's another one which addresses the Surah Talaq, verse number 2. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. This is a verse that we are told, it's recommended to recite this verse after every salah if possible. This strengthens you. And the next verse, so whoever is careful of his duty to Allah, He will make an outlet for him whenever we are stuck in life. We don't all have to go to Gilboa prison. We all have our own prisons. God says, if you have taqwa, we'll give you a way out. So Allah will make an outlet and give them sustenance from where He thinks not. Your risk will come from places where you never thought. Risk is not only money. Willpower is risk. Security is risk. Health is risk. And whoever trusts in Allah, He is sufficient for him. Surely Allah attains His purpose. Whatever Allah plans, He will always fulfill it. And Allah indeed has appointed a measure for everything. Whenever you're feeling down and there's a lot of dhulm happening in the world, just open the Quran and read Surah Hashr. Just the first few verses. It gives you so much hope that no, Allah will help us. We need to tighten our belts, increase our faith in Allah, have taqwa.
يتق الله يجعل له مخرجا ويرزقه من حيث لا يحتسب ومن يتوكل على الله فهو حسبه إن الله بالغ أمره قد جعل الله لكل شيء قدرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد